morning, everyone. It's really nice to see you all here. Welcome to the day number 2. My name is Mariia, and I'm a core contributor of KaoDao organization. And today we have a very interesting topic to talk about, and it will be about building high-performing teams. We'll speak about hiring, onboarding, leadership, feedback, and many other great things to ensure that you can build a proper team and also you can perform within those teams. And so you might ask, who, who is it for? And I would say for everyone. Someone who is hiring, someone who is looking for the job, someone who is going through the onboarding, someone who is participating in the onboarding, someone who is providing the feedback and wants to become better in providing and receiving the feedback. So it's quite engaging 1-hour workshop. No worries, I'm not gonna move you around, but what I will do, I'll just perhaps ask some questions around just to make you think and see where we all stand. Sounds good? For today's workshop, I would like you to have 3 intentions. So the first one is to be present. Try to be present, pay attention to, and benefit out of it. The second one is to open the beginner mindset. And what I mean by that, you might hear of information which you already know, or something you would say, oh, it's very primitive, it's very basic. And so try to be open and see, okay, so what I still can get out of that for me. And try to take at least one takeaway for you, which you can already implement in your life day to day, and starting from today, starting from tomorrow. And so something what you said, this is cool, and this is something what I can take with me, and that's I found useful for me from today's presentation. How many of you actually hiring? Okay, I love it. How many of you looking for a job? Okay. How many of you are participating in the onboarding of your team, of the other team members? Okay. And how many of you are struggling, or not necessarily struggling, but want to become better in providing and receiving feedback? Okay, so I see. So because the presentation is very long, so I really want to ensure that you guys benefit and how I would structure. All right. So let's start with the core ideas. And what the presentation will cover: hiring, onboarding, and leadership. And I strongly believe that all those 3 things are very well connected to ensure that you can have highly performing teams. It's not enough only to hire highly performing talents. It's not enough to perform great onboarding. It's not enough to be a good leadership support for them. It's everything should be connected. Have you ever wondered why people perform well in one organization and don't perform well in the other? What are your thoughts about that? I just like to hear your thoughts. What are the reasons you feel like they benefit well in one company and don't benefit well in the other? There is no right or wrong, okay? Second? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah?
than actually being active on something that we do as a team and as a company, and we do it all together, and it's more motivating to
Yeah.
hunt for the mammoth together.
Great. Yes, please, here.
Same, just from personal experience. If someone is respected and their efforts are valued and acknowledged, then I guess those persons will be more motivated and happy about what they're doing. Just this is what I've experienced so far.
I love that. What you actually mentioned, you mentioned a very powerful keyword, which is respect. And respect linked to the company culture, the way how you are building the company culture around the organization. And respect always goes first. Respect, ownership, building the relationship, and so. One more, yeah?
I was thinking two things. First is expectations, and then kind of the cultural fit. That is something that I'm struggling with, but trying to see how to hire for our cultural fit, because I think there are people who are thriving in one company and don't necessarily thrive in another. And I think it's important to get like a good fit of people for like the structures and um, yeah, type of environment and working process. Basically, how much structure is there in the work, and what are the processes. And yeah, I think different organizations have this set up differently, and it seems like it suits different people. Like some people like more structure, some less.
Exactly, love it. So you mentioned two things, expectations and actually how do you hire for that person be able to be in the culture of the company, right? It's extremely important to set up the right expectation from the very beginning, and you will avoid many issues going forward. And I'm always saying that hiring for the hard skills, for the technical skills, or whatever you're looking for that person will perform, it's just 50%. The other 50% is actually how that person will be collaborative within the company. How do they stick to the company values, company culture you do have in the organization? That's why on the very early on, during your hiring process, you have to evaluate for the culture as well to ensure that this is the right person. And I'm not very big fan of the cultural fit. I'm always saying that when you, but it makes sense. But what I'm always saying that company values, it's like the principles, something people stick to. Like we also do have our own principles, but the company culture is something what people shaping. It's like water, with adding more people, it's shaping. But people definitely need to stick to the core principles of the company culture and core principles of the values of the company. Otherwise, you might feel struggling after. All right. I love the answer. Thank you so much for being so much active and already answering so many questions. Most teams, they don't fail because of the bad ideas. They fail because people misalignment, hire it too fast or onboard it too loosely and let too late. And it's really important to take into consideration that from the very early beginning, especially if you are a small company, especially if you are the company below 50 people, and those people are the key for your organizations going forward. And hiring, it's not just about hiring, it's about great team behind that. And I want you to think about hiring as like you're designing your team. It's like you're designing your company going forward, and that's the team which will boost your product going forward. And this is also hiring always goes both ways, from the company and also from the candidates, right? So the way how you show your interest in the company, because the hiring, it's never from one side. The team, the future team member who is going through the recruiting process also have to be active, proactive, figuring out what's the company, how would they find their place there, and so. One key takeaway, which I really want you to memorize this slide going forward, is audit your processes within the company. How well you have hiring structure, how well you have onboarding structured. It's not only, okay, we hired a person and then they need to figure it out. I always, at CowDAO, we pay so much attention to the onboarding. We really want to ensure that, and again, it's not perfect yet. It's never gonna be perfect. It's always evolving. It's how much it works for you and how much it benefits. And we constantly ask people, "So how do you like the onboarding?" And say like, wow, I didn't need to figure out many stuff myself. You gave us that from the very beginning, and it simplified my first few weeks, if not months, and it already gave me boost in productivity, because the way how the onboarding goes, it's always like two ways at CowDAO. We do have onboarding into the materials, and also we already give the tasks they benefit out of it, and they already can perform and see the value, right? So it's 50-50, but on that organizational part, they already clear, they already know what do we expect, we already set up the goals, we already have meetings, what is their work style, get to know each other, something what can add additional good touch for them, and ensure that they can better understand who we are, what we do, and so. The why hiring? The new thinking, as I said, we are designing the teams, and it's really important to ensure that you do it in a way, in a right way. What will help you succeed in hiring? And I will be short here. It's start with clarity. Understand who you need. What would be the role about? And very often when I talk to the hiring managers, they say like, I want everything. I want this, I want this, I want like that person flies. I mean, I'm kidding. But too many expectations, and it means that there is no proper clarity. Try to narrow it down to 4 core hard skills you're looking for from that person. The rest, good to have. And from those good to have, what's something still crucial for you, and what's something that person can learn during their time being in your company. And please remember about the company culture. And if you don't know what is your company culture, then you need to first design your company culture and see it with your team and say, okay, so what is our culture? How do we lead? How do we care about the working hours? How do we like to meet each other? What is our communication style? That's all small things which creates the big company culture around your organization. The second one, when you have understanding who you are hiring for, start evaluate with evidence. Understand how you can evaluate to ensure that you are hiring the right person. And what I mean by evaluation is when you go to the interview with the candidate, very often we do have bias. And what will help us to reduce those bias and to be more concrete is to understand, okay, what is the expected answer I'm expecting from that candidate to X, Y, Z? And write down, like, just this is a very powerful exercise. Write down what is a good answer, what is a great answer, and what is a no-go for you. Just brainstorm. Just take few questions, ideally the entire interview, and see if you can do that. If you're struggling, then you need to optimize that. And you need to answer yourself, okay, so are those really questions I want to ask? And again, very often hiring manager asking me, yeah, but you know, the interview goes different ways. People just providing different answers. In the coding exercise, it's hard because there are like some follow-up questions and so on, and that's fine. Follow-up questions will be always, and candidates are different. You, based on the answer, you still might ask some other follow-up questions which you were even not thinking about. But what I'm saying, what I'm referring, is about the core questions, you're waiting for, and the core skills you're looking for. How does it sound? No? All right, let's move on. Hire as a team. Especially in the early startup, I see that there is only one person who is evaluating all the interview processes, like hiring people, or two. It's always great to have multiple stakeholders. At CowDAO, we have a very proper step-by-step and interview process, and we usually have for each step like few interviewers even who can provide various opinions and so on. So it's really important that you do have various stakeholders involved in the hiring process. And what we even do at CowDAO, it's not it's not because we, how to say, we were thinking about it, but we can do that with our hiring system, is we can hide the previous feedbacks from the previous interviewers. So in order to avoid bias, they don't see the feedback from the other interviewers, and they are making their own opinions. So they can read the other interviewers only when they only when they fill their feedback from the interview. And the last one, what we already have covered, it's hire for the culture. It's another 50% from your hiring. It's extremely important that you decide. At CowDAO, we have entire interview for the culture, and we do ask behavioral questions. How do you work with XYZ? And we do not ask hypothetical questions, okay? This is another important thing I want you to think about, but we do ask the real examples. Give me a real example on the ownership. Give me the real example when you have faced XYZ. Give me the real example from your projects, right? So we don't want to face hypothetical, but we want to ensure that this goes from the real examples. Okay, so I will skip those one because we already covered those one. Yeah, never rely on one opinion and avoid bias in the process. And also, I often hear like, but I felt. Okay, and say, what did you feel? Try to figure out what is. Sometimes we during the hiring we have this feeling like it was good, but not enough. Like try to zoom it out and say, okay, so why did I feel this way? What exactly made me feel this way? Because yes, we do have those gut feelings, but what I want you to do is just to think about what stands behind those gut feelings. All right? Yes, okay. Important that great candidates evaluate you as well. And anyone who is looking for the job or will go for the job market in the future, I really want you to think about that the new company is your new giant project. And in order for you to be there, first of all, you have to evaluate them as well. You need to be proactive. Just think about what is one more step you can take in order to get to know the company better, get to know your future manager better, get to know the product better, and have to present yourself as well better. Don't go for interviews like, okay, another one, but care, and believe me, most of the companies, they pay attention to that, and they do appreciate how proactive you are, and they do appreciate how proactively you're also asking and caring about the company during the hiring process. Let's talk a bit more about onboarding. How many of you here struggled with the onboarding in the past? Okay, okay. And have you struggled from what side? From the side of like onboarding people or being on board? Onboarding, okay, okay. I would like to hear what exactly we're struggling with if you are willing to share. Yes, maybe we can just give a mic here.
So I have struggled with it from both sides, and as a new hire, I very often find it difficult to find out whom to ask about what kind of things, like to kind of connect into this network of people who know different things and are good at different things. Like if I have a particular, not even necessarily a problem, it might be an idea. If I need to talk to some other person for whatever reason, who that person is,
Yeah,
and
so
how
I
do I
struggle.
approach them. So that's one of my constant frustrations as somebody joining a already formed team as a new member, and as a company owner. When onboarding new people, I very often have the problem of getting this feedback that like new hires say that they don't know what's going on and they feel disoriented. So, I tell them, like I usually give them a brief introduction of everybody with whom they're likely to deal with, and show them around the IT infrastructure, where do they find files and knowledge bases and things like that. But even after that, I very often get the feedback that they feel lost, and they like, this is literally what they say, that I would like to know more what's going on.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I really like those two things, which I would like actually to address straight away. And the first one was that they don't know what to ask, who to ask, and so they feel a bit lost, right? During their onboarding. What we do at CowDAO, we have created the Slack channel just for the onboarding, where the people from the operations, the people like who are taking care of the onboarding are involved, and the new joiner can ask anytime any question, and we will connect them right away to the right person they want. We also encourage them to reach out to their team lead in case they do have any questions straight away there. But also on the other side, we're struggling from the company-wise. In order to ensure that they have better overview, we do have various meetings already pre-scheduled even before their first working day. So when they join, they already have all accesses to the tools, and they have all of those meetings already pre-scheduled. And those meetings, what I'm talking about is about the product. We also do have the Notion page with more information about the products, and the knowledge sharing sessions, which we're recording for them to watch, and as well as get to know each other meeting with the hiring manager, which is very, very powerful. Have you ever heard about such thing before, get to know each other meeting? What do you think is it about? Any thoughts? Okay. So it's 1 hour meeting between hiring manager and, between manager and the team member. And again, like it also can be between different team members, not only between the manager and the team member. And when they really sit down and answer deep questions, what is my preferable working style? What I value? What is my motivation? I mean, ideally you ask that during the hiring process, not during the onboarding. But something, every single person, when they join, they just like, they start to blooming up, opening, and they also start sharing more and more details about that stuff. So the point of this meeting is to get to know each other and to understand what are the working styles, what people value, how do they want to work, and just to build a strong relationship between each other. Because the relationships are extremely important, and the earlier on you start doing that, the better that person also will succeed, and the better they will be collaborating between each other during their stay in the company. And so we do provide for them resources as much as possible. And as I said, onboarding is never, ideal. It's always work in progress. We do have regular catch-ups with them on the weekly basis. Okay, so what is going well? What is another information you're missing? And we are improving also our next onboarding process, and we are providing them on time resources they do ask, because people are different. Sometimes they proactively asking, but sometimes you have to ask them to receive the answer. Okay, any other thoughts or struggles you had with the onboarding you would like to share? Okay, let's move on. Yeah, so during the onboarding, we really want to ensure that we also have another meeting when we align and set up the expectations at least for the next 3 months, what exactly they will be working on. And again, like when I'm talking right now for the onboarding from the company perspectives, but if you are a new joiner and you're struggling with something, please be proactive and ask for all of the support in advance, so to ensure that you have all of those information before, and before it's getting too late, what I'm saying, because usually people figure out that something doesn't work already too late and they just take hard decision, and in order to avoid that, it's important to be also proactive and to collaborate from the very beginning and understand, okay, so this is the perfect onboarding I would like to have, and if I miss something, let me ask you and get the information I need from the company to ensure that I can succeed, that I can be my better self, that I can provide them the support they require, and so. Okay. Yeah, so you can decide your onboarding week by week, or you can just schedule multiple meetings as we do at CowDAOs. You can be creative as much as possible, but as much clarity you will give them and support from the beginning, the more you will benefit in 3 months, because they will be already performing and they will be already much more on board than you would even expected. Leadership, yes.
So I was saying that just looking at this timeline, it looks, you know, great in theory, but in practice, I mean, I would think that people start, I mean, in our team, they start owning something at the end of week one. Like in practice, kind of, we have these onboarding tasks, but nobody ever had a whole week to kind of just spend a week getting to know, everybody. And then, because, like on day two, they're already in the meetings, they're in the code base, they're doing stuff. So, yeah, I guess I'm kind of, do we have the luxury to kind of take 3 weeks until we actually have them to own something? Because that's not how it worked in my team so far.
I really love that you're bringing that. I'm very grateful. That's something what I wanted to point out. I partially point out in the beginning of the presentation is that it's not like you're sitting and just onboarding the candidates. As I said, in different companies, it's designed different, but it should be at least 50-50. So 50% it goes into onboarding, 50% they already performing from the day one. So, and this is extremely crucial that they are performing, because you have all of those materials and it's very different in practice. So when they start doing that in practice, they will have even more and more follow-up questions, and they already can see the benefits after a week or after two, and they say, oh, okay, I'm useful, I'm bringing the use. That's why it's extremely important, right? But depends on the onboarding materials you have. You can have it 40-60 or 30-70, but onboarding, like structure of the onboarding and providing them this support, it's extremely crucial. And sometimes it takes 6 months to fully be on board. Again, it really depends how much they have experience with your product, how much they have experience in the role. So it has to be onboarding. It's never like one system works for everyone. It's it's redesigned per each person individually. There might be some general meetings, same for everyone, like get to know each other, or knowing what would be your goals for the next 3 months, or what would be the expectations, like what is the product about, and so on. But after, it should be designed for every single person's individual, and you have to constantly communicate with them. Say, okay, so how is it going? Is it going well? What would be one thing you would improve in the onboarding? What is one thing you appreciate the most about the onboarding? What is one thing I mean, you don't need to ask all those questions at once, okay? You can separate them, but just communicate with them. And the more you communicate, the more you will get to know that person and understand what works best for them, right? We also do lots of coaching especially with the team leads. And some of them they continue, but some of them they don't. They say, okay, and during this 1 month, I would like to focus on X, Y, Z. And that's great because they're mindful about their time. They're mindful what works for them, right? So communication is the key, which goes along with the onboarding. Any more questions? All right, let's move on to leadership. Leadership is crucial for keeping the team and company healthy. How many of you had great leaders? Thank you, Alexei. He's from my team, by the way. You don't need to be so nice. I appreciate. What do you appreciate in leadership? Yes? Can we give the mic here? Sorry.
Approachability, I think, is important. And also the repeated experience that the leader helps really contributes to us doing what we want to do rather than being in the way. Like, I think that's, like, I cannot be more specific about it because I don't know like what the secret ingredient in this is, but some leaders feel like they're in the way, whereas other leaders feel like it's good that they're there for us. And I don't actually know why it happens.
Thank you. More?
For me, it is empathy, because if they are empathic, they can really connect with the others and really make them feel like heard, understand, and empower them to better.
Love it. Yeah?
Yeah, for me, by experience, a very great someone who who can recognize in someone the strength and the quality of a person and how to leverage them, so that the person also feels it's part of a mission of a company and contributing in its own way, like with its own signature, let's say, and also recognize where the other person is having difficulties or struggling and support him on these areas. So like knowing how to leverage the strength and how to work on improving on the weaknesses, let's call it like that.
Love it. Thank you so much. One more? Anyone? Yeah?
Yeah, so from my experience, integrity and backbone is really important. So when you feel like these people are very, I mean, the leaders are clear about what they think is important, and they're happy to kind of pick a fight over it or defend it, and there's something that you sort of can rely on, that's really valuable, because then you see them fighting, and they're kind of fighting, for what they stand for, but they build the company based on what they stand for, so they're kind of fighting for you at the same time, because they're out there, and that's a really powerful feeling. Also kind of motivates you to go back every day.
Yeah, love it. Every one of you mentioned so many great and powerful things, which I'm really grateful for. And it's true, like, I really want you to remember that people work with people, and people join the companies not just because of the compensations or not just because of, that's another big company and so, but because they want to feel well. Simple. They just want to feel well. And there are many ways how you can make them feel well, like integrity, that they don't need to run, and ask you every single time, but you give them that information from the very beginning. You try to integrate them with the company. You make them feel well with empathy, with empowering, with encouraging, and so. And if you are from the team lead side, think about what is one thing I can do to improve my leadership. And if you don't know, you always can ask them. You can always ask your team, but don't ask me. Don't ask them what are the things I can improve, because usually the way how you ask questions is important. Okay, ask open questions, or ask like the question which will help you to receive the answer. You can be very specific. What is one thing you want me start doing differently today? Or what is one thing you feel like I can get better in the leadership? And if your team member is not answering to this question right now, it means that you need to work on the feedback from both sides a bit more and start to providing this to your team member first, so they can come back and they can feel powerful and enabled to provide you this information, right? If you are from the team member side, if you're lacking something or if you don't feel well, find a way to talk to your team lead. And if you can't find your way to talk to your team lead, probably something is wrong. So if you can't say that you don't feel well or you're struggling, there is perhaps the relationship connection is a bit broken, and you need to work on the relationship connection first, on reestablishing the good connection with your team lead or with anyone in the team in general. So it's not only about the team member and the team lead, but think about the other situations you have within your team. And there's always something, right? There is always like something, okay, with some people I'm doing well, with some people I'm doing like not that much well. Think about what else you can do there. And remember, leadership, yes, we want to have good team leads, but it always goes from both ways. And those team leads become better because of you, because you provide them the feedback and you try to also navigate what works best for you. Yeah. Leadership is the alignment layer. Direction, clarity, feedback, and support. Feedback is extremely powerful tool to become better as a team lead, and also just build better relationship between your teammates, company, and so. I'm really big fan of the feedback in general. And right now, we have a bit more time, and I would like to dedicate to the feedback. Okay, how to give honest, caring feedback to people you work with every day, and why it matters more than you think. Silence is not kindness, it's avoidance. I want you to remember this phrase and just to think about that a bit more deeper. Like, if something doesn't work, to keep silent is the worst you can do, because you're avoiding that instead of resolving. And if you avoid it once, you will avoid it the second and third time, and you'll already build the patterns, and you'll already be like, okay, so this is fine. Now I can skip, I can move. Try to resolve anything on the very early on, because when you have the small ball, it will keep rolling, and in the end it will be big ball, and it would be much more harder for you to take any actions after. Think about the colleague you work with regularly. Someone where something feels slightly off, you notice it but haven't said anything, it might be one of those. For example, unclear communication, which is actually one of the most often one, like when you, especially in the remote environment, yeah, like when you don't know, you were unclear, and you don't feel comfortable because you don't feel comfortable to hurt someone's feelings, and so, or delays like missed deadlines, or interrupting others, or like when I say interrupting others, people are very different. They have different mentalities, different background, and some of them, they might take it like more on the arrogant side. Some of them like, yeah, really depends. So you have to be always mindful what environments, how it should be, how people feel comfortable, and so. And yeah, there may be many others reasons. And why haven't you said anything when you felt that something is not going well? So it can be for many reasons. And people, usually avoiding feedback for, again, like for multiple reasons. It's, for example, it's probably not a big deal. I will tell it next time, and they forget. The next time comes, and it's like, okay, but I didn't tell the first time, and so I don't want to damage the relationship. I don't know how to bring it up, and so on. So there are plenty of reasons. In a peer relationships, we often stay silent, and that slowly damages trust and relationship, which is a very key part and very key point to keep the relationship actually healthy. Have you ever heard about the radical candor? Any one of you? Okay, oh wow, nice. I love it. Okay, so radical candor, it's a framework. There is a book also exist, which you feel free to read. The book has many more details. And just to be mindful of time, I will focus on the radical candor, not on the ruinous empathy or manipulative insecurity or obnoxious aggression. But what radical candor means is the way how you build your relationship and the way how you provide the feedback to anyone. Can be in your day-to-day life with your family, not necessarily only at your work. But what you want always start with the respect we spoke today and with care personality. Just think about like care personality. The reason I provide this feedback because I care about you. I care about our relationship and I want you and us become better. So anything you start with, don't try to avoid, but say, okay, I actually want to provide it in a way because I care about that person. Okay. And the second part is challenge directly. What does it mean, challenge directly? You're not trying to say, I didn't like how you behaved yesterday, but what are you doing tomorrow? You try to deliver the feedback, but kind of you were not sure. You were like, you didn't finish the feedback directly. You already changed the topic because you kind of provided a bit of the feedback, but after it's like, okay, maybe I will hurt their feeling. I don't want to dive deeper, and you just start doing something else. Try to be clear. I didn't like the way how you behaved yesterday because it's affected me in X, Y, Z. Be clear. But remember that care and challenge directly comes also with kindness. It's really important the way how you provide the feedback. And if you struggle with the way how you provide the feedback, you can start little by little. And remember, communication is a key. After delivering the feedback, you always can ask for the feedback from the person. How did you feel? How did it make you feel? What can I do better next time? Right, always ask, always, never assume. Like sometimes we assume per our own beliefs, our own bias, our own experience, but remember the other person is the entire other person and they have different experience, they have different beliefs, they have different expectations. Don't try to assume, but constantly ask, okay? How does it sound? Yeah? You have a question? You have a comment. Okay, please.
So I apologize in advance because it might make quite a few people in the room uncomfortable, but I think it must be talked about. And this concerns our particular industry, I mean software in general, not just blockchain, but software development in particular, that there seems to logical hereditary disorders that usually go by the name ASD or ADHD and so on, which basically means that we have, and I'm no exception, we have poor interpersonal skills. It just, like in this industry, this is normal. Near 100% of the good people are affected by it to some degree. And so these kind of things, for many of us, feel really, really, really hard. Some people learn in their 20s or their 30s the kind of interpersonal things that most people learn at the age of 5 or 6 when they're children. And even if we learn these things, sometimes they feel really, really tiring and hard to deal with other people. So in the extreme cases, you have some really good professional for whom it looks like they have experiencing physical pain for just speaking. They're writing an email to the person sitting in the same room, right? So getting like information out of them, like asking them how they feel or what's wrong, is really, really difficult. And you don't want to fire that person because he's really good. And uh, and I think it really needs to be talked about how to deal with like this kind of problem, because I think it's pervasive in our industry and there's no way out of it. And I don't really want to talk about the causes. I want to talk about solutions. And one thing that I have observed is that the really successful teams and companies have professionals like you who are good at interpersonal skills, unlike most of us who are really bad. And so my question and my comment is like, how do we find these professional services? Like, do we really need to hire an extra person, or can we just consult with a professional from time to time? And secondly, like, are there some special considerations with dealing with this problem?
Thank you so much for the question and for the comment. You would like to add something to that, or?
Yeah, maybe one thing, I think it's a great comment. And I think that it creates this difficulty for the people who are the leaders, right, to be radically candid. But I think it adds this difficulty of how are you radically candid with a person on the other side of the table that has that, right, kind of personality. Because I mean, like, I'm a lead. I have a people of techies that report to me and that I kind of have one-on-ones with. And some of them I struggle being direct with, but, you know, I mean, they might get hurt by statements that, you know, other people wouldn't get hurt with, or they might. So, I mean, some people, they have sort of this almost, they have this sort of, I mean, I'm thinking of one person in particular, but like, there is somebody that has an almost photographic memory of Slack. And every time you talk to them, they'll bring up this one little comment and they'll say, oh, you know, it was all said, because they interpreted a lot into this single comment. And it's really, I mean, it's a gift, but it's also, you know, derails the communication quickly. And you're saying, well, just because there was this one reply by this one person, this one thread, it doesn't mean that it's now common knowledge, right? And these are things you maybe wouldn't find if you're working outside of tech to that extent. So there is that problem for leaders who have sort of maybe not the same kind of level of personal skills, but there is also the problem of communicating in such a way that the purpose of this framework is met for people on the other side of the table with that particular kind of, yeah, mental frame or whatever you want to call it.
Thank you. Can you leave I would like to ask some follow-up questions, if I may. What is one thing you can take towards coming closer to the radical candor framework with that particular person you were speaking about? One small step you can take.
So what I've been doing is I've been trying to be very direct with wanting us to have a good relationship and stating things very clearly. And there's another thing which I've been trying to do, which is to address what I've just said with them, kind of like to sort of go at this meta level where I say, well, you know, I don't know, like, I struggle with finding the right way of talking to you, and talk about that kind of thing. And I think it doesn't necessarily bring us closer to a solution, but it at least feels like they appreciate the effort, and they kind of, we at least share acknowledgement of the communication problem, and that's kind of in the room. So yeah, that's two things I've been doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, first of all, guys, for bringing the topic on. And it's extremely powerful, and needed not only in the Web3 community, but overall in the society. And take radical candor as ideal final scenario, and treat also and take into consideration that every person is different, and you need to build the relationship with every single and also get to know them. Think about what are the smallest steps you can take on the way to come with that particular person to the radical candor. Just brainstorm, ask, observe. What you also can use, you can also use the external help of the people who are specialized in that. You can use the external help of your HR department or the people department, or just talk also with the other team leads what works best for them. But what I'm trying to say is that there is no one particular way how to behave with everyone the same way. The only thing what I want you to remember is that you should not compromise that much, because even with that person, if you keep silence, it won't resolve the situation. If you will be too direct with them, it also wouldn't resolve the situation. You need to figure out and find your way by small steps, have to improve that and get better on the regular basis, right? And treat those cases as well as in like the cases you need to even put more efforts, be more mindful. What is one more milestones you can take there? And so there is no like black and white, and I feel like that, yeah, we need to speak more about that, and we definitely need to brainstorm, to ask more help from the other fellows in the ecosystem, what they can, like how do they deal with that. But the most important, you need to always pay attention to the person, ask them, and try different ways what would work for them, and be honest, frank, and remember kindness and careness is a key here. Okay, let's move on. I have a few more minutes. Building trust is important so that the honest conversations actually work. And when you are building the relationship and providing the feedback and receiving the feedback with each other, between each other, and I'm talking about the team members, the team leads, that's a way, and that's the moments when you build the trust also with each other. And I'm always saying, to build trust takes some time, to lose trust takes seconds. So be mindful when building the trust, and also be mindful the way have you treat your team, your team members, teammates, and so. I really would like you to think about a colleague or team member or the team lead you were struggling with. It can be anything. You were struggling to provide them the feedback or something. Like, think about the reasons why, for example, they were behaving this way. And let's take a scenario. For example, the team member is, let me see if I have the scenario here. Okay, let's take a scenario that the team member is not answering you on time. And it's not just happening one time, but it's happening many, many, many times. What are the reasons behind that they are not answering you well, you on time? What could be the reasons behind that they're not answering you on time? Yeah, let's start from there.
Overloaded with tasks from different people in the company.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they struggle then to manage their work pipeline, I believe.
Yes, okay, cool. Here?
Personal issues, very often family issues.
Yeah, okay. Any more reasons why they are not answering on time? There is?
Maybe unclear priorities. Sometimes they can have like 10 tasks and maybe 3 are important, but they don't know which one are. And especially like in teams where there are like multiple co-founders, sometimes like they all ask something, but you're like, okay, what's the most important? And you want to, let's say, please every single co-founder or something like that.
Yeah, cool. More? Bless you. More? Okay, I'm grateful for all the comments you provided, and what I really want to ensure is that people don't assume things, right? They, for example, when someone is not answering, very often it's like you start thinking, they perhaps are rude, they're not answering me. But try to focus on the positive side, and I really like that you brought actually the positive examples that, for example, they might be overworked, or it might be not their priority. So, for example, when you are writing and you're expecting something, be clear that you need that by tomorrow and asking, is it possible you can bring me or provide me the answer by tomorrow, right? Like you communicate, you already provide the deadline for you, which is important, right? And never assume that, never assume. Just if something is going off or wrong, always ask, and that would be a very key point for you to see the entire scenario from the other side. And when you ask them, you also ask for the solution. How can we resolve that going forward? Focus on the future when you provide the feedback or when you receive the feedback, never on the past, okay? And don't try to dig into the problem, but see, okay, so what can be done going forward for us so we can start doing that much better and, faster going forward. How does it sound? Okay. Just give me a second. Okay. Very short intro to the how to provide a proper feedback, radical candor feedback. There are 3 stages, and the first one is set it up right. Get the person ready that the feedback is coming. For example, write down them a message in Slack. Hey, I would like you to provide your feedback on XYZ tomorrow. Is it okay for you? Or also do it like for 2 minutes. Best feedback's happening between the meetings for you. You don't need to create like a special events and so, but let them know that the feedback is coming. During the conversation, start with alignment. Can we align on XYZ? Understand their side first as well. Be specific and clear what exactly you want to deliver and what exactly you're delivering, and solve it together. Look into the future, okay? Remember, future, not the past. How can we do it better next time? Back. How do you like, or how are you satisfied with my feedback? How do we do it going forward? What is one thing you want me to improve and so on? You don't need to ask the same questions as I do. Find your own way, your own style, but improvise, be creative, be curious, think about the improving, think about making it better going forward, about the future and so. And one more thing, which is important, remember that price publicly, recognition is important, but provide the constructive feedback or something you want them to improve privately, okay? This is very important. Just give me a second. Thank you so much, guys. That was really a pleasure to be with for the entire hour with all of you. You are giant, well done. Very grateful to have you all of you here. We are hiring at CowDAO, so please join the herd if you're looking for the job, or we also have the referral program. If you know someone and can recommend a role, feel free to do so. It will be very grateful. And the referral the session, I would like you to share what is one thing you are bringing with you from this session today, if possible. If anyone would like to share. What is one thing you're bringing with you today from today's session?
It's more of a personal comment, but I like to think about relationship as kind of like a vault where you add some, you put some coins in it every time you have like just a nice conversation, a laugh. And when you just talk about work, you kind of like remove these emotional like coins from the vault. And I had one manager I was working with, so in a fully remote context, so crypto, and we had like 30 minutes to 1 hour calls every single morning. We're just a team of 3 in the marketing team, and I just love this guy a lot. And we just took so much time to just talk about random stuff, and it felt just great to kind of have a friend. And most of the time, like I feel that companies and some of the people they forget this, like just spend time talking about your life, about personal stuff. And this is, as I think you said it in your presentation, like how to create bonds where you can ask anything, and actually any feedback is welcome because you kind of have a friend in the team, and you really need to spend time with your people, like 30 minutes or 1 hour working together, talking about any kind of thing, and this enables you to receive any type of feedback and give any type of feedback because you've built
Yeah.
this kind of bond, a lot of coins in this emotional vault. That's how I
Thank
see
you
it.
so much. Thank you so much for the comment. Here as well.
I like the term radical candor overall from the presentation. I mean, when I heard it, I registered like all the good managers that I had and the good leadership. I could relate the qualities now. Know that was there. I was trying to be that person, but it was like hard for me to exactly do that. But yeah, it was kind of like that sticks around with me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the last one? Yes, there.
Yeah, I really like the part about the feedbacks. It's something I've done with some engineers that I've managed. So I've always asked, what they felt good about, what they were struggling, or were looking to what kind of area they were looking to improve. And I did that as well with HR managers and like a manager that I work with. I think it's very important. I agree to like regularly check in with your team to give feedbacks and also be open to receive feedback. So because I think the goal is always in the company to be aligned with the mission of a company.
100%, 100%. Guys, you have been amazing. Thank you so much. I wish you to have a great day, great the rest of the conference, and enjoy. Thank you.